Joffrey Baratheon has no friends besides his mother Cersei, and that is why he is a monster. In other news, the sky is blue. I can already hear a bunch of you click-clacking away in the comments being like, well, yeah, because he's an incest baby, and so, like, that's why he's crazy, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, yeah, we've heard it. But I'd like to have a slightly more nuanced conversation about Joffrey and his behavior and what I think are the actual roots of it beyond the, like, oh, incest baby equals crazy argument. Because time and time again, I think that argument overly simplifies some of the actual issues that are going on here. Like, yes, does Joffrey have some antisocial behaviors that you can detect in just, his general demeanor? Absolutely. And while there's probably a genetic component to that, automatically assigning it to the incest, I don't know. I think it's just slightly disingenuous because the incest has been a problem for thousands of years, and not just in the Targaryens, in the Lannisters too. Because remember, the Lannisters, they like to practice the regular medieval incest, if you will. I'm saying that word too much. This video isn't going to do well. But they did it in the traditional European way, where you marry your cousins over and over and over again. Tywin and his wife Joanna, their last names were both Lannister before they were married because they're cousins. So sure, the incest might be causing problems and might be even related to the antisocial behavior, in a way that it's not just its own thing that's popping up. Maybe it is popping up specifically because of the intermarrying, but then that's going to be a problem for everyone. That isn't a special, unique problem to the Lannister or the Targaryens or whatever. They're all dealing with it. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Joffrey has no friends. So yes, we do see that Joffrey seems to have had some antisocial behaviors, inclinations from the time he was young, hurting the small animals. He has an unfortunate episode when he's very, very young with a cat that he does some experimenting on and then tries to show his father Robert, and Robert, just smacks him across the room because he's like, the fuck? Which, don't hit your kid. That's bad. Obviously that's bad, but also the autopsy, no. And so you combine this unfortunate behavior with the fact that Joffrey never seems to have developed any friends of his own. In A Feast for Crows, Cersei blatantly remembers that Joffrey never had any boys, girls, whatever, friends his own age that he spent any time with. He was always alone. He was always keeping to himself. The implication then being that the only people that he really got to socialize with were Cersei, and then later on the Hound when, he was assigned to do so. And I think it's here that we really get the root of why Joffrey is as bad as he is, in a way that is different from a lot of the other characters, and even his siblings and stuff. Because remember, his siblings are chill. They're normal kids. They're kind of, quiet and young and yappy and stuff, but that's just kid stuff. They're not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over here, okay? But I'd argue that the reason that they're chill in a way that Joffrey isn't is that Joffrey was isolated by his own, funny behavior, we'll call it, and then in that isolation, his only, source of comfort, reassurance, and socialization was Cersei Lannister, who, well, is a piece of work herself. Something I do appreciate about the TV show is they do give us a couple of scenes of just Cersei and Joffrey to kind of establish the sort of twisted nature of that relationship, where Joffrey is this very insecure human being, this, young child who wants to control everything and doesn't understand why the world isn't behaving the way he wants it to. And then you have Cersei, who is reinforcing this idea to him that the world should respond how he wants to because he's entitled to it, because he is the king, he is the prince, he is everything. The world belongs to him. And I think that was a very smart thing on the part of the show to really show us that insecurity as the root of his behavior, and how he's basically being poisoned by his mother's words. He's being told the wrong thing, he's having the wrong thing reinforced, and then he's turning around and using that to just unleash cruelty on the world. Now, while we don't see that specifically in the books, because Joffrey is never a POV character, and Cersei isn't a POV character until after he's gone, we do, I think, get hints of it in the little interactions that we see with them. We do see Joffrey constantly looking to his mother for reassurance when things are are going wrong. Like, a case in point, when Joffrey is first, made king after his father, Robert dies, when Ned tries to, argue against that, he's looking to Cersei. Joffrey's looking to Cersei, being like, Mommy, what's going on here? And so you get that sense that, like, Cersei is the one who has shaped his entire worldview because he's never had anyone else to influence him. Robert is as good as not there because he wants to go and party and be the party king of fucking college town Westeros, whatever. He has no interest really in his children, and any interest that he might have had was probably squashed when this little psychopath brought him a dead cat. So without any other friends of his own, again, the only people shaping his worldview are Cersei, who is, just poisoning him with all these ideas of entitlement and privilege, and also her own paranoia. Because remember, Cersei in the books is a lot more paranoid than the Cersei of the TV show. So all that paranoia is getting, poured into Joffrey. And the only other individual that he spends an extended amount of time with is the Hound, his personal guard, who he gets to order around. There is never anyone, like, on his level. There's never a literal, like, friend of his same age, gender, lived experience, anything, who he can, like, have, like, a push and pull with, who he can have an exchange of ideas with, who he can, like, learn how to socialize with. So while I do think that there is a degree of that, like, antisocial behavior, coming from when he's young and the animals and all that, I do think it is, at the very least, made 100 times worse by the fact that he is never, like, socialized around anyone besides the paranoia queen and our dark hound. So this is one of the reasons why I get a little frustrated when everyone just wants to blame everything on the incest of it all, because I think it's a little deeper than that. I think that this is just literal, like, childhood, like, neglect in the upbringing. Joffrey has been neglected mentally by the way that his mother has raised him. I think that idea is supported in universe by people who blame who blame his mother's upbringing for his later behavior, more so than the circumstances of his birth. In A Feast for Crows, when Cersei is asking Kevin Lannister, her uncle, Tywin's brother, to be the next hand of the king, thinking that, he'll be a very good lieutenant, he'll listen to me, I'll get to push him around, Kevin lays down some rules for her if he's to take the position. And the first one is that he wants her to get away from Tommen, who is now the new king. And he explicitly says, like, I will do this position, I'll do all the work, I'll do everything, but you need to leave. You need to go to Casterly Rock, and you need to leave Tommen here with the rest of us, so that he's raised by anyone other than you, because we've seen what happens when you raise a future king. And I'm sorry, but Kevin Lannister is one of the smartest characters in this series for a reason. He sees things. He's that quiet person that doesn't say a lot, but when he does, he's been paying attention. He not so subtly indicates that he understands the nature of the children's origin or their parentage, and then also at the same time, even with that in mind, also points out that the way Joffrey was the way he was is because of this woman right here. And so if Tommen is to have any chance at all, Tommen needs to be raised away from her. He needs to not have that influence. He needs to be raised around other children his own age. He needs to, like, be socialized, and he needs to not have this paranoia and entitlement and privilege poured into him. Because otherwise, you get this psychopath over here. Anyway, please let me know what you want me to talk about next. Leave it in the comments here. Like all the buttons, do all the things. Y'all are very cool. I don't know. Should I shave my head? I've been thinking about that. What do we think? Does that scream like I'm having, like, an existential crisis? I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it. Who knows? Anyway, good night.